This is wild. Welcome back to my series, How to Teach a Student with a Visual Impairment, where I'm walking you through step by step what to do when you get a blind or visually impaired student in your classroom. Hi, I'm Cassie Maloney. I'm an orientation and mobility specialist and the founder here at the Society of Exceptional Educators, where you, my friend, no matter what kind of teacher you are, no matter how much experience you have, we're here to provide you with 21st century teaching techniques so that way you can skyrocket the academic and daily living skills of your student with visual impairments. I've been doing this for 20 years. 20 years! Just about. At least since I've started school. So, okay. And so, it's the beginning of the year and I wanted to walk you through classroom environmental analysis. What you need to know, all the things. I had an outline. Then I asked our AI bot to help me. And what it came up with was so much better. So, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to walk you through that instead because it is better. And I want you to walk away from this video with one thing. You're a teacher, you have some sort of classroom, some sort of area where you teach students with visual impairments. Now, whether you have 30 years of experience or whether you are just brand new to working with students with visual impairments, it does not matter. This is all going to be the same. First and foremost, if you are brand new to working with students with visual impairments, what you're going to do is go back to last week's video and see the top 3 things that you need to focus on right now. And then watch that video, it's 20 minutes. And then you're going to come back to this one so that way you can see actually how to implement these ideas in the classroom. Because if you put your student in a classroom that's too cluttered, or they can't get to their cubbies, or you are trying to teach them something and they can't access it, then what do you do? What's the point of it? You know, we don't want that. What we want are your teaching to get into their brain. But 90% of what we know is visual. So everything that you've been taught about students and what to do is probably wrong with this kiddo. I know, and that sucks, right? Taking a deep breath here. It's not all wrong. It's not all bad. But how you move through the world is how you experience your life. And if your students can't access their classroom, then you're going to have a much harder time as a teacher. And the thing about students with visual impairments, that's the only kind of student that I have a master's degree in, although I've taught preschool and high school, is that you don't know when they're lagging in their skills because their progress looks slow anyway. And that is the hard part, because you want to be a good teacher or else you wouldn't be watching a YouTube video on it, and you want your students to succeed. So how can we do that? The first thing, after you've read their eye report and you've gone through that triangle that I talk about in the past video, and you have a good understanding of, okay, I know what their vision is like, I know what they see, I know when they can see best, I know when they can't see, all that jazz. What we're then going to do is look at the environments that they spend the most time in. Typically, that's their gen ed or special ed classroom. That's going to be your related service classrooms. And then from there, then we'll go into other areas like the cafeteria or playground. For today in this video, just to keep it short, let's just stick with classroom. And I'm going to call it a classroom even if you're an OT working in a closet, okay? We're just going to call it your classroom. So what our AI bot, Louie, specifically pointed out, and I'm an orientation and mobility specialist, and did not have orientation and mobility on here, is to look at the furniture placement that you have and make sure that your student can physically access all of the areas that they need to get to. If you have a student who's in a wheelchair and you want them down on the ground to get to the other places in the room, which is highly appropriate for most of our students, how are you creating those walkways and those pathways? Do you have areas that might even look different, just like you would go into a grocery store and maybe the meat section has like a red wall behind it and produce has a green wall behind it. How can you take that kind of concept and put it into your classroom? On top of that, are there areas, like designated areas for learning specific things? In most classrooms, there are. In some classrooms, you have such a wide range of students that you don't really have that ability. But if you can start to make these tiny adjustments, right? I'm not asking you to overhaul everything. I'm asking you to look at the overall functionality of your room. Does it function for your student? Can they get around? Look at the classroom. Then what you're going to do is see if you need any landmarks placed on anything. And that's going to be just a label that your student can access that tells them exactly where they are. Then the next thing that I want you to look at is sensory efficiency. This is going to be your lighting, and this is going to be everything on the walls. So if you have a lot of stuff on your wall, if you are one of those amazing teachers who loves to decorate their room and you have lots of posters on the wall, what I'm going to suggest, and you are allowed to hate me for this, I'm just a person on the internet with a lot of experience, but I'm going to suggest you take them down. For all students, it has been proven that it's overstimulating. Although we love it, we do. And being in a room without those things can feel like you're a bad teacher. I know I've been in the school system for decades now, but if you take them down, you are much better off. And just have up what you can then create an accessible version of for your student. If your student has trouble with a lot of clutter, I would suggest having a black wall or a black corner, or getting a black trifold board and putting that somewhere, either against a wall or either somewhere where the student is going to be working, to help block out the other things. Now, do you want to have that in rows and rows and rows of desks? No, not necessarily, because their social skills matter too. But is there a way to do it so that they're also included and seen as a normal student? That is a conversation for you to have with your teacher or students with visual impairments and the orientation and mobility specialist, to say, okay, how can I put some black on the wall here? Or how can I create a corner that has black background? Or maybe it's just on their desk, black background, so that they are focusing on high contrast materials. Thank you, Louie. We appreciate your reminder. Come to think about it, Julia, our Clarity coordinator, just talked about this in her workshop last week. Clarity is our monthly membership for educators who are working with students with visual impairments, and she dove into classroom accessibility. So here's what she had to say about using contrast in your classroom.
So the next thing we're going to focus on is color and contrast. So I'm curious from your perspective, if anybody wants to unmute or drop it into the chat, there are some good components of contrast in this picture. There are also some barriers that I've found in this picture. You can also consider lighting and glare for this picture as well. So does anybody see something that if you walked into this classroom and you had a student with low vision might be a bit concerning to you with regard to lighting or contrast?
I would say maybe the words of the week.
Mm.
If the heading could just be, if it just could be a little bit more bolder, more high contrast. So instead of the words, they look or they appear in green, if they could be in black. And maybe the words that would be on there could also be either in black and white, just so they stand out instead of that green and blue. And I see other stickers. Maybe do
Mhm.
the stickers have to be there?
Right.
Um, just, and then whatever's on the whiteboard, could it just be in a darker shade? Instead of like, they have a lot of different dry erase, the greens, the reds. Could it just be
Mhm.
in black? And then also whatever's written on the board, could that also be given to the student to have in paper maybe for them to have for when it to be closer? I'm thinking that window is probably providing some glare
Mhm.
on that flat panel. And depending on where the student is sitting, they might catch that sun coming in and not even seeing that board.
You are on it, Ashley. Correct, correct, correct. So, and I know Joyce dropped into the chat the board near the window. So, yes, absolutely. The three main things that stuck out to me, Ashley also identified. It's these words of the week walls. One, the lettering is awfully dark or blends in with the background that's brown. I also feel that the boards themselves could be presented in higher contrast. Sure, if the classroom came this way and they're stapled onto the wall and they're cork, that's something you just kind of got to work with, right? But you'll notice the borders around these boards are also kind of orange or pink. They blend in really well with the wall. So that's the first thing I might make a change to, is creating a stronger border and high contrast for these word walls or word boards. I also definitely agree with Ashley that we can do something to make those words higher in contrast. Also, are the stickers necessary? Are they providing visual complexity? Also, like Ashley pointed out, if my student is sitting with his, like, look at the semicircle table, if he's sitting there with his back to these boards, is he accessing any of this? Or from any of those seating distances, is it just too far away? Maybe the student just needs a near copy of this information, and then we're good to go. So certainly we can use different marker colors for the whiteboard. We can add much more contrast to the words of the week wall. And then the big one too is that moving smartboard. Talk about backlighting. If it's a sunny day, I mean, from the picture itself, I can already see a little bit of glare from the overhead lighting on the top of it. And then if you've got a sunny day with sun coming in through those windows, is my student really going to get anything from that whatever's being presented on that moving smartboard? I'm guessing not, especially too, considering where the student might be sat in this layout. I think that you're going to have issues with backlighting and glare pretty much from any of these positions. So ways to accommodate it, absolutely. Easy things like using darker markers on whiteboards. If your students can access a whiteboard, if they're using assistive technology or distance magnifiers, they certainly can. So ensure that an easy way to fix that is get rid of the reds, the greens, the yellows, and the oranges. Let's focus on black, blue, and purple on a whiteboard. We can also certainly add framing or highlighting of visual information that we know our students are going to need to attend to. What I didn't say anything about the positives. Positives for this is that I do notice a strong contrast between the tables, the chairs, and the rug. So I think that's a win for the teacher, and I would be sure to tell them that's a win. However, let's say that there wasn't a rug and the floor was all gray. You had gray tables, maybe gray or tan chairs. An easy thing we can do to help our student visually source where their seat is perhaps add some sort of additional color to the back of their chair, put a mat that's a different color on the table so that they can get that visual attention and know where their seat is as they're learning the layout of the classroom.
The third one is going to be assistive technology. Your student with a visual impairment is probably going to have some sort of assistive technology that's often bulkier and bigger than like normal computers. A lot of times our students can use their phones or their iPads to take pictures of what's on the wall or what's on the board, and that's great. But very often they might need something like a CCTV in order to access the information. So you're going to have to figure out what that looks like, what the student needs, and make sure that you have room for it. Because if your room is already cluttered and then someone comes in with this 1980s looking TV set, it's going to be really hard for you to figure out how to implement that in your classroom and do so in a way that the student isn't ostracized away from all the other kids. So just think about it, right? That's like a little bit higher level. The other aspect that you want to consider is going to be organization. Organizational skills and being able to actually access their environment goes into what's called compensatory skills. and that is an area of the expanded core curriculum that your teacher students with visual impairments will help you to work on. And basically what we want to do in compensatory skills is make sure that the student's environment is accessible to them to the same level that it is our students without a visual impairment. So what we're looking at with compensatory skills is going to be, can they access the items in that center without needing you to go get it for them? And typically that means that it needs to be labeled and it needs to be organized really well, and things need to be in clear set up bins or containers. You might want to look at having different containers that are different shapes and sizes. You might want to look at maybe labeling them a different way. Again, if your student has vision, putting a different color behind it, things of that nature, because we want to really look at, is my environment that I've set up, that I've taken so much time and a lot of times our own money, is it actually effective for this learner? And you know in your heart of hearts, is it? If you have any questions about that, that's why we're here. The Society of Exceptional Educators will help you to figure these things out. We send out a weekly email with more information. So the people who are getting this email are getting, yes, the YouTube video, but they're also getting much more information that I can't really share or else I'll lose your attention. And they can reply and ask questions, and we can give you guys specific help and information. The link to join the Society of Exceptional Educators is down below. That's not your jam right now. That's A-okay, my friend. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned. This year, 2025, we're in for an incredible year. I really feel this. Teaching is literally the best job on the planet. I absolutely love it, and I love getting to connect with you. We have so much in store for you this year. You just got to connect with us. That's all. I will see you around.